You are actually the most polite actress I have ever met in my life. Also, I want to tell you that I've learned so much from you on set, and I feel like in just 1 month of set, it was just like making like 5 years of drama, because you made me grow up so much, and I love you like crazy. Like crazy.
So much.
Oh, I swear to God.
I'll give you the money for that later.
Yeah,
That was
thank
good.
you.
Good work. Good work.
It was 1,000.
A lot has happened recently, and I felt like I had to post a video this Sunday because I've got some really juicy behind-the-scenes information for you about It Ends With Us. What I'm about to share explains why many people who've worked with Justin before, and even those involved in this project, are shocked that this lawsuit has escalated so far. The reason? There's a huge amount of proof backing Justin and Wayfarer. And I don't mean a little here and there. They kept very detailed records because they expected something like this might happen. So saying they're ready is honestly putting it lightly. Let me explain how I got this information. A woman named Crystal Cornelson reached out to me on Instagram. She's a former director and producer at Wayfarer, and she worked there for over 4 years. Crystal has a lot of experience working with Justin and the whole Wayfarer crew. She wasn't involved in the filming of It Ends With Us directly, but she knows how they operate behind the scenes. One thing that stood out to me is that she was one of the only women in a director or producer role at that time, which is pretty rare in this industry, especially behind the camera. Crystal gave me insight into how things usually go when working with Justin, and she made it clear that the team is very careful, professional, and organized. On top of that, I also spoke to another person who was actually part of the production. This person had direct experience with Blake and said it was extremely tough working with her. They described the environment as difficult and emotionally draining. To give you even more context, there was a Reddit post back in August that gave a detailed summary of what went down. Some of you might remember Candace Owens brought attention to this post a few months ago. The post was shared anonymously in a Colleen Hoover subreddit, and the person claimed to have close knowledge of the production. They weren't just repeating rumors. They were told things directly by someone involved in the movie. Here's what the post said. Blake apparently felt uncomfortable around Justin, especially after he reportedly told her she looked attractive in her outfit. It's unclear what the exact context was, but things went downhill from there. Justin wasn't satisfied with the original edit of the film, so he brought in his own editors to create a new version. Blake, unhappy with this, wanted to make her own version too. When Sony didn't allow it, she allegedly threatened to take the story to the media and accuse Justin of harassment. This caused a lot of panic at Sony, and they eventually gave in to her demands. Justin was reportedly not allowed on Sony property during this time. Blake hired editors who worked on Taylor Swift's music videos, and while she was filming overseas, she held a private screening for her version. Big names like Ben Affleck and Bradley Cooper attended, but they didn't like it. The feedback was harsh, and the movie didn't make sense. Realizing she needed help, Blake then hired a professional editor. At one point, she added a Taylor Swift song to the movie. But when Taylor learned that the film's composer was someone she had issues with in the past, she gave Sony an ultimatum. Sony let the composer go just to keep the song. Some insiders now believe Taylor wasn't directly involved in that decision. And for the record, Justin never mentioned Taylor Swift in his lawsuit. A lot of this new information suggests that some of the claims being made just don't add up. While it was said that Taylor Swift had a hand in getting the original composer fired, it's now believed that she wasn't involved at all. That part might have come from Blake, but it's likely not true. This is just one example of how facts might have been twisted. Someone from the Team Justin Baldoni subreddit shared their view, saying they believed Blake may have truly felt uncomfortable. However, the problem was that there was a misunderstanding about their working relationship. For instance, there was a day where Blake refused to wear the costume chosen by the designer and instead brought clothes from home. This delayed filming by several hours. When she came out in her own outfit, Justin commented that it didn't look great, calling it a bit frumpy. She got upset. Trying to fix the situation, he told her she looked sexy, but this only made things worse. She viewed the comment differently than he intended, and things spiraled. Another point that came up in discussions online was Blake's behavior on set. It was described as extremely difficult. She often didn't follow the script, frequently, made last-minute changes, and even stopped scenes in the middle to give her own direction. One source said she would sometimes walk up to Justin during a shot and physically adjust his position or angle. This type of controlling behavior caused more delays and a lot of frustration for the team. According to those who saw the behind-the-scenes footage, she tried to take over the film completely, challenging Justin's authority as the director. When the first lawsuit was filed, people started looking back at all these incidents. Justin later submitted an updated complaint, where he clarified what actually happened regarding the sexy comment. Still, some of the Reddit posts and personal accounts help explain why so many people are now questioning what really went on. According to someone close to the production, Blake worked hard to push out anyone connected to Wayfarer and replaced them with her own team. Some were fired, while others were allowed to stay but felt like they couldn't speak out. One person said they believe Blake fits the profile of a manipulative narcissist, someone who twists the truth and manipulates people to get her way. They said it was hard to trust anything she said because she often changed her story and made things up on the spot. They were also very clear that there was no sexual harassment on set. The cameras kept rolling between takes, and there's tons of raw footage to back that up. In many of those in-between moments, Blake can be seen trying to direct or challenge Justin's decisions. People who've seen that footage say it reveals a pattern of behavior where she tried to take full control, often speaking over Justin or making changes without his input. The entire situation has left many feeling uncomfortable, frustrated, and wary of working with her again. Everything that happened between Blake and Justin Baldoni was caught on camera. That means all the arguments, disagreements, and power struggles were recorded. When Brian Friedman said Justin is holding back certain information because it would make Blake look bad, people who worked on the set agreed. They said if this case goes to court, it could really damage her reputation. The jury would be able to see how she treated Justin and the others during filming. She acted disrespectfully, didn't follow directions, and often argued. She tried to take control of the production even though she was just one part of the team. It became clear that Justin didn't have much power over her, even though he was supposed to be directing. A former employee who had worked with Justin at Wayfarer for years said that he is the opposite of aggressive. He's calm, kind, respectful, and serious about his values. He's also very loyal to his wife and wouldn't act inappropriately toward another woman. The idea that he crossed a line with Blake didn't match who he is. They described him as someone who avoids conflict and wants to make everyone around him feel comfortable. This situation has hit Justin hard. He and his family are heartbroken. On the other hand, Blake would make fun of people on set. She mocked things that were harmless, and people said she seemed out of touch with normal life. For example, during a dancing scene that she claimed made her uncomfortable, she told Justin to get a nose job and joked about using health insurance for it. It shows how she could be cruel without realizing how her words affected others. People described her as someone who was born into privilege and always heard how amazing she was. That made her feel entitled to always get her way. She acted like she was better than others and had a hard time playing her role as an actress. She constantly fought with the director and wouldn't accept direction. This attitude made the work environment very tense and slowed down the entire production. There's no proof that she ever reported feeling harassed. In fact, people on set had to ask her to stop interrupting and to follow instructions. She was often late, over budget, and kept changing her lines and wardrobe. Many believe she used her close relationship with Taylor Swift and her marriage to Ryan Reynolds to gain control. She wanted to replace key crew members with her own team, including firing the original composer. She even claimed Taylor was the reason for that firing, which wasn't true. It's believed Blake wanted producer credit, and by taking over tasks like hiring the composer and pushing for control of the final edit, she could qualify. She reportedly threatened to accuse Justin of misconduct unless Sony gave her the final say. The studio eventually gave in. The music in the movie felt odd because her hired composer never completed the score, so they had to use songs with lyrics that didn't fit well. All of this paints a picture of someone trying to control everything to boost her own image. Blake was described as someone who's very crafty and manipulative, but not very capable when it comes to actual skills. People said she often acted impulsively, shouting commands and making demands without having a clear direction. She didn't understand how to manage or create a film. Editing, directing, or producing were all outside her expertise. Because of this, everything on set became disorganized. Her behavior towards the team was also very inappropriate, likely because she didn't know what she was doing and tried to cover that up with control. When she created her version of the movie, it didn't turn out well. According to reports, her cut of the film was confusing and made little sense. She showed it to friends and family, and most of them said it was unwatchable. Viewers couldn't follow the story, and it just didn't come together in any way. Because of how poorly it was received, Sony made her add back a large portion of Justin's original version so that the final product would at least be understandable. Even after making those changes, her second screening didn't go well either. So the studio decided to release Justin's version instead. Blake didn't take that lightly. At an event called Book Bonanza, she reportedly took control and played her version of the film without permission. The original plan had been to show Justin's version, but she stepped in and made sure hers was shown to the fans first. That way, she made it harder for the studio to switch back to the original cut because audiences had already seen her version. This was seen as a sneaky way to lock in her control over the final product. There's also discussion about how Blake got the role in the first place. Justin was working with WME, a powerful Hollywood talent agency that also represented Blake. People believe WME pushed for her to be cast, even though Justin may not have wanted her. They think Blake was chosen as a sort of favor or business move, not necessarily because she was the best fit. Some insiders said the casting decision was influenced more by agency politics than by the needs of the film. At the time, Blake was trying to make a comeback, and this movie was supposed to help relaunch her career. Even though the film did okay at the box office, many believe it could have been a much better movie if Justin and his production company had kept creative control. They say that her version damaged the film's quality and potential. The final product lacked the polish and emotional depth that had originally been planned, in part because the score was unfinished. Even the version released in theaters didn't have a complete soundtrack. Some people also believe that Blake's management team and WME manipulate public perception. According to former insiders, WME uses bots and fake social media accounts to boost follower numbers and shape online opinions. This could explain why Blake still appears highly popular online. Critics suggest that this media strategy may also be the reason she shifted the blame for the film's issues onto Justin, to protect her image using WME's influence.